looking at this, we know that Edmund was the seller. He sold it for $25. So his minimum willingness to sell was lower than $25. That's why he sold it. And then if Pregel bought it for $25, he must value the book more than $25. That's why he bought it. That's why he paid $25, because he values it more than $25. That's how he gets the benefit out of it, right? Just by this transaction, just because this transaction occurred, we know that both Edmund and Pregel are better off. If they were not better off, this transaction would not have happened. They both saw value in it, they both saw their benefit, and that's why the transaction happened. Anytime, any transaction in our world happening, whether it's buying a cup of coffee or selling or exporting or whatever, when the transaction happens, it means that they both saw, the buyer and the seller saw value in it, and that's why the transaction happened. So they're both better off as a result of the transaction. So Pregel, I don't know what kind of name is that, but whatever, Pregel thinks she will be better off if she buys it for $25. And she voluntarily, nobody forced her. Nobody forces anybody in market transactions. You do it voluntarily because you see value in it, because you want to, because you think that it's going to make you better off. So Pregel thinks she'll be better off if she buys it for $25, and she voluntarily bought it. Nobody forced her. So how much better off are they? As a result of transaction, how much better off are they? Well, for Edmund, benefits or the price received minus minimum willingness to sell or reservation price. What's the price Edmund received? It's given to you in the question. $25. His minimum willingness to sell, it has to be less than $25.
Why couldn't it be 25?
It could be equal to or less than,
Okay.
but not negative.
Gotcha.
It has to be less than or equal to $25. So this is Edmund's net benefit. So this is a formula for net benefit. Net benefits for Edmund or for the net benefits for seller. Net benefits for seller is price received minus minimum willingness to sell. In this case, we know price received was 25. We know that his minimum willingness to sell has to be less than 25, otherwise he wouldn't have sold it. What about pre-goals net benefit? So let's do net benefits, pre-goal equals maximum willingness to pay or her reservation price minus price actually paid. Which is 25 in this case. What do we know that pre-goals maximum willingness to pay has to be less than 25 or equal to 25. Has to be less than or equal to $25. Only that's how she can get a positive net benefit, and that's how we know that transaction actually happened.
Oh, so could the other one be like more than 25 then? Like the vote?
I mean, it has to be more than. Sorry, more than.
Okay.
More than or equal to. So we know that for pre-goal, the maximum willingness to pay has to be more than or equal to 25 than the price she actually paid in order for her to have a positive net benefit. Sorry about that, it's more than. So it was less than for him there, and then it's more than.
It seems like it would be the other way.
No. Why?
His minimum willingness to sell should be $25 or more than, and she would be willing to pay $25 or less than.
No.
It just seems like that makes sense.
No, because you have to have a positive gain at the end. So for the seller, the benefits received, $25, has to be greater than his minimum willingness to sell. Only that way he will get a positive net benefit. And for the buyer, the maximum willingness to sell has to be, for the buyer, the maximum willingness to pay has to be more than the price actually paid for him to have a positive net benefit. No, you gotta just think about it a little bit more. That this is the way. You have to have a positive net benefit in both cases. So this number must be greater than the one she paid, and the benefits he received or the price he's receiving has to be greater than his minimum willingness to sell. It makes sense. Think about it just a little bit longer. Okay. So, net benefits is what makes up the surplus. Net benefits is what makes up the market. net benefits equals to surplus. Okay, so make sure you know these formulas. For seller, net benefits is price received minus minimum willingness to sell. For buyer, it's maximum willingness to sell or reservation price minus price actually paid. So you need to know these two formulas.
If we are going to sell both,
What?
if we are going to sell both by $25, we must by $25. Our willingness to sell should be. If our willingness to sell is less than $25, for example, 20 or 15.
Okay, yeah, so let's say, for example, it's 15.
Yeah.
And you sold the book for $25.
Yeah.
So 25 minus 15 is how much?
10.
10. 10 is the net benefits received
Yeah.
to Edmund. 10 is
Ah.
equal to his net benefit. Okay?
Okay.
If her maximum willingness to pay for the macro book was $30 and she actually paid $25, so Prego's net benefit is equal to $5. She valued the book for $30, she actually paid $25. Her net benefit is $5 positive, okay? Alright, so net benefits are like surpluses. So what is a consumer surplus and what is a producer surplus? A consumer surplus based on benefits minus cost for a consumer, the benefits are maximum willingness to pay or reservation price. And the cost is price actually paid. Now, what is a producer surplus? Producer surplus is also based on benefits minus cost, but the benefits of a producer is price received. So there, the cost of that. So price received is the benefit of the producer, and the cost is minimum willingness to sell. It could also be a production cost. How much it costs to make the product. It can also be called a reservation price. Voluntary, it's hot in here. Voluntary markets are better than non-voluntary markets. Because people know and do what makes them better off. because people know and do what makes them better off. So let's do an example. Dave's consumer surplus from buying Samsung Note. Price of the product is $150. So how do we calculate the consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is benefits minus cost, right? So reservation price minus price actually paid. That's consumer surplus. Consumer surplus, his reservation price was $400. So he was valuing the product at $400. That was his maximum willingness to buy. So his maximum willingness to buy. The price he actually paid was $150. So his consumer surplus is $250. What about the producer surplus?